Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
She's back. Yes. It's been a while since we've talked to her. She's an amazing coach, works with people in all different areas. A little specialty there, working with attorneys and helping them get on the path to success and further improvement. And she's been on this sabbatical, long vacation, whatever you want to call it, but doesn't mean she wasn't working. And she's back with us. Margaret Enloe joins us on the program today. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Steve. It's nice to see you again. I like that purple background behind you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, but I'm fine. It's been about 3 weeks since I got back from I call it a mini sabbatical. That's what I'm calling it, because vacations tend to be a little shorter, and this was this was 3.5 months.
Wow. I knew it was long. I was trying to remember reference points here, in Southeast Asia being one of them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Southeast Asia, which of course has quite a few countries in it, none of which I had been to. But I can just mention what they are very quickly.
Please.
Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Malaysia, Thailand. A lot of people have been to Thailand and Vietnam, but we also went to Malaysia, got way up into the jungle on little long fishing boats, a lot of hiking. We went to, saw friends in Thailand, saw friends in Kuala Lumpur, and then down to Singapore. A lot of people, I think, have been to Singapore because of business. They see it rather quickly, but we spent about 5 days there. And then from there went on to a place called Sarang, which is in eastern Indonesia, very close to Australia. So I'm talking way far away. And we went on a snorkeling trip there for about 12 days in beautiful water, warm water. And then back to Indonesia. Many people have heard of Jakarta. It's a big bustling city on the island of Java in Indonesia, but we spend most of our time in a place called Yogyakarta, which has some very historic, large Hindu and temples, yeah. And then finally on to Bali, spent about 10 days in Bali. And then we flew from Buddhism. That's the largest Buddhist temple is in Yogyakarta. So it's been beautifully restored. And then from Bali, we flew to Bari, Italy. So that was through Singapore. And then we had some time in the southern boot of Italy and then on to Greece.
My gosh.
My sister. And finally in Switzerland, where we met up with our son.
Wow. Okay. We're going to talk about the coaching aspect in just a moment, but I do want to put the microscope on this mini sabbatical.
Okay.
Couple of questions. When you got back, did you say to yourself, wow, I miss it already, and maybe I should have appreciated it more? Just kind of curious.
I was never super excited about getting back. So I feel like I appreciated the trip as it was going along.
Okay.
And felt good about how I, in a sense, invested my time, energy, mental capacity in what I was doing. So I didn't have that feeling. I think it was more when I got back, oh, well, I'm back. There were so many fun things I did. They're all in the past now. So a little bit of, it's over. It's over.
So I just got back from 5 or 6 days in the Dominican Republic, a little bit work related, had put it off since December. Things came up, put it off, things came up, put it off, went solo. I've never traveled solo a lot, if ever. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I've been on a plane, by myself and then met up with others. I did meet up with someone there who we did some work, but I even told him, listen, I'm good. You go do your thing. I'm fine. He had a friend there, so I met up with his friend. We hit it off, and he had a car, so he showed me. And he's relatively new there, so we were sightseeing together for a couple of days.
Yeah.
But I found myself not being able to get into the mode for 3 days. I wasn't in that relaxing mode. I was just like misplaced until probably the third day. I'm like, Oh, okay. All right. I'm good now.
Yeah.
Was it a challenge for you to acclimate to, a different schedule, different life, something totally different?
The short answer is no. Um, I'm not sure why, Steve. I think it's fair to say that most people, when they go on vacation, have some difficulty getting into the spirit of it, just relaxing. In fact, one of the posts I did while I was away was how to relax and how do we know we're relaxed when we're on vacation? And for some people, it takes 24 hours, some people 3 days, like you, some people a week. And it's somewhat it's hard. I even say in the post, it's anyway, it doesn't matter. What I say in the post is not so important, other than getting to the place where you finally did get to is just, it takes some time.
Mm.
You asked about me. I'm not sure why it was easier. I think because we knew we were gone for such a long time. We were far, far away. I mean, we were on the other side of the world, and I wasn't worried about work or things at home. I wasn't worried about anything.
Hmm.
So it made for a nice combination when I arrived, just kind of getting into the spirit of it all.
What was your biggest challenge?
Biggest challenge. Hmm. Adjusting initially to the time change is a full 12 hours. That's a
Mm.
challenge. And at one point, interesting in Italy, the Italians served us so much food at restaurants. It was like, oh, I had trouble adjusting to that a little bit. It was
Wow.
obviously very good, and it's hardly a complaint. But yeah, that was something I found a little challenging. And I know I wasn't the only one either. And mm, a fun challenge was walking behind a water buffalo in knee-deep mud. It was on a experience adventure of how does rice grow? And one of the first steps is tilling this mud and getting the rice in there. And
Wow.
it was, yeah, but that's not the kind of challenge you're talking about. Yeah, I
That
think
that's more of a physical challenge, I guess.
physical challenge, right? That's a physical
I've never
challenge.
been to Italy, but I'm kind of surprised where, in the States, we get a lot of food. I mean, it's too much, but
Mhm.
many say that we should be dividing that in half. It's another meal.
Mhm.
Um, I'm surprised in Italy, though. I would think that it would be smaller portions, but very flavorful, but it doesn't sound that way. They give you a
Yeah.
lot.
At least where I was, it was, and I was with the group, so that probably changed the dynamics a bit. But hey, everything was tasty. The wine was great.
Mm.
The were great. So I guess it's not a complaint. I dealt with it. I figured out how to deal with that.
You'll deal.
I'll deal with that. I'll deal with that problem anytime.
So, as a coach, how did you navigate that? Did you put clients on hold? Where did that begin?
Yeah. I basically finished a lot of my coaching engagements before leaving. And with people that were just signing up, or let's say I was in the middle, I said, let's just put a pause. And they were comfortable with that. But most of my engagements came to a conclusion. I did end up getting some new clients while I was over there and spoke to them, managed to just set a time, a Zoom call from Bali one time, from Bangkok one time.
Mm.
I forget where the other one was, but Greece one time. So I was able to schedule those calls at times that didn't, I wasn't on a hike, let's say, or swimming somewhere. So it worked out. Yeah, it
I
worked
feel
out.
like I was with you because you did a lot of posting on LinkedIn with a lot
Yeah.
of pictures. Commented a few times. I really felt like I was part of your journey.
That's nice. Thanks for looking.
No, then it was great. It's like I knew you were going away. I knew some of the destinations,
Yeah.
but I felt like some of the. I don't know if it was rock climbing, but I remember you were ascending somewhere.
Yeah.
Um,
Switzerland. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, okay.
Scary.
Yep.
Yeah, that was scary.
Hmm.
You know, the one that got the most reviews, I was interested, was one in Indonesia on the snorkeling trip where I went to a location that has these beautiful mountains rising out of the sea that people have seen in pictures, but being there was like, wow. And I could go, we went all over with a boat. and paddleboarding back to the big boat. So anyway, that post, interestingly, which had those beautiful pictures, got the most impressions. And the other one I posted that I think you saw I referred to when I was not mountain. It was a way of mountain climbing, not hiking up these steep cliffs in Switzerland. My son and his girlfriend took us on where you use cables instead of ropes. So it's pretty secure, but you have to have your wits about you, and you can't be, if you're too nervous to do it, well, then you don't start, because once you start, you have to keep hiking up to the top. And it was a longer hike than I expected. So because that was scary. And a lot of times we don't put ourselves in scary situations, at least not on LinkedIn posts.
So as a coach, what's your advice to somebody who wants to take some time? Maybe they're thinking about doing a little bit of work away. Bad idea, good idea, just the overall emotional intelligence of vacation or downtime. Yeah, how does that look through your eyes?
A lot of it has to do with our personalities and whether we can, or how easily we can relax when going away. I think for most people, again, as I said before, it takes some time to get away and to finally relax. And I think for most people, taking their iPhone with them at a minimum gives them some sense of security. Doesn't mean they have to look at it all the time, but some sense of security. Some people, like my husband, for example, not on this trip, but when he was working, he had to take his computer. And that made him a little more comfortable that he could be in touch and people could reach him. And so I'd love to say there's these three things for everybody. I just think a lot of it has to do with her personalities. Something depends, of course, as well on how much you're leaving behind, whether you can reasonably transition your work to other people. I found that personally when I was working full time at PricewaterhouseCoopers, it was hard to transition, and unless I was going away for, let's say, 3 weeks. 3 weeks, you got to transition some of the stuff. If you're going away for 1 week, well, why bother transition? That takes work to transition. Then I come back, I got to pick it up again. I might as well just stay with it.
Yep.
So I guess that might be one thing. How much of your work can you reasonably transition to somebody else, if anybody? And if you can, well, try to do some of that. And then, one thing is making sure your colleagues know early enough that you're actually going to be away and how long, and maybe even where you're going, so they can get excited for you, as opposed to, oh, you tell them 24 hours before you're going and you're rushing out the door. Well, then it's like, oh, like, what am I supposed to do to pick up after you? And so informing colleagues, obviously your supervisor, if you have one, early enough. And part of it, as I say, is just kind of mentally removing yourself. And for those of us who do some kind of mindfulness meditation, some kind of deep breathing, that can be very helpful to start the days off of your vacation in a different frame of mind than I got to do this and I got to do that.
This getaway for me, and it intentionally was solo, because I read, I meditated,
Nice.
took naps during the day. Whoa.
Whoa.
Like,
That's a good one.
and there was no one around. I was at an Airbnb complex where a lot of the people are from Canada and they're back home now. So they're renting out their places. It was like being in a resort. Honestly, it looked like a resort. I mean, the grounds were perfect, but it was Airbnb. I'm not exaggerating. Like $100 a night.
Nice.
Phenomenal. There was a little restaurant bar, fantastic food, nobody around. I mean, nobody around. Just, I thought that was wonderful, because I wanted the solitude and I wanted to read and just self-improvement, books like that. That's what I was reading. And it was great. It was like, I want to do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So traveling by yourself, knowing what you wanted to accomplish, and the atmosphere, environment you created for yourself that helped you achieve what you wanted to. I know my mini sabbatical was a very different purpose.
Yep.
And I think, obviously the planning ahead of time makes a big difference.
Sure.
Apart from transitioning, if you can, your work, ending your work, putting a pause on your work. But once there, if you know, well, I'm going to be in this kind of environment, that's what I want. I don't need to go looking up 15 restaurants. The first day I get there, I kind of know where maybe I want to go eat. A little planning thing might be helpful.
Did you feel overwhelmed, rushed? Like, I'm just catching my breath from last night's dinner. Now we're heading out to the Swiss Alps, and now got this going on and we got that going on. Did it feel like that at all?
No,
Wow.
no, wow. It's a bit of a wow. I have a lot of, Steve, you may have noticed a lot of energy.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, even my husband, who is a little more low key than I am, I don't sense he felt that way either. There was enough downtime, enough hours to get back, let's say, to a hotel,
Sure.
take a nap, relax. And
It's not like you were doing something every minute of every day.
yeah, we were relaxing a lot of the time.
Yeah. Okay. And you had a lot of time to relax. I mean, 3 months. Whoa, that's like huge.
Right. Yeah, right. It was okay to take a nap. And definitely I'm a great napper. So I can nap for 20 minutes and feel refreshed.
Yep.
It's not what everybody can do, but I definitely did that while I was on the trip.
In terms of quality of life,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah,
something about going to sleep when you're tired. You know what I mean? Like during the day, I have a little lunch. I'm like, feel a little tired. I had a great night's sleep. I'm going to lay down now. Why? Because I can. Why not?
I want to. Yes.
Yeah. It's a totally different feeling. But it's also, I mean, I guess you look at it in terms of self-care. I don't want to minimize anything. It's just a nap, but it's like you gave yourself something. Does that make sense?
Sure. Definitely makes a lot of sense. And I think a lot of times people have difficulty doing that. There are
Yeah,
a lot of pleasers out there.
for sure.
A lot of people who are always first thinking about somebody else. And self-care it's not a new concept, but certainly it's one that's gained a lot more traction in the last five years, 10 years maybe. So
Yeah.
self-care are really important.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's also the guilt release, since more and more people do it and talk about it and are good with it, as you should be, then that guilt goes away. I mean, it was 5 years ago that I went back to the gym, which is only 800 feet from this building. And I remember, and it just opened up. It was brand new, beautiful, fantastic. I would go on treadmill for 12 minutes. And then I'd start feeling like, I gotta get to work. What happens if, something changes and, salary difference, I gotta keep going. And I got off the treadmill and went to the office, and I just wasn't used to that. I needed to get in the mindset of, yes, when you do these things, even 3 months away, you're giving something to yourself. It's almost like you're giving yourself a present.
Yes. So how are you doing now at the gym?
An hour. Yeah, I intentionally set an hour, sometimes 50 minutes. Personally, I need to really dig in. I need a coach. We need to talk. I'm not at that. In order to see progress, I need to dive in. I need to really push it hard. And I'm not. And I know I'm not. I admit it. I go, I show up, I'll do, 20 minutes on a treadmill, 25, whatever, do weights and things like that. But I'm not, sweating crazy, and that needs to change. If you want results, I want results. So
the other thing is, how many times a week do you go?
Typically 3 to 4.
Okay, so that's pretty good.
Yeah. And I know that you're very active in terms of fitness, right? You have a trainer, I remember.
I have a trainer just on Sundays now.
Okay.
Because the rest of the time I kind of do it on my own. Yeah. So
I might revisit that personally, because the best shape of my life, or this half of my life, was when I had a trainer about 3 years ago. And I would still be using her, and she's a friend. Her schedule changed, and our schedules didn't really jive together. So it's like, very early in the morning or very late in the afternoon or evening. And
That's hard down.
it is, but if it's a commitment, you may want to make the commitment and see. And, I have goals. And I guess this is, now we're talking in the coaching side of things,
Yeah,
where
sure.
one of them is to get up earlier.
Uh-huh.
Get up, like, be up by 6 a.m. as
6
opposed to
a.m.
maybe 7:15 or whatever. It's fine, and successful people get more done when they get up earlier. What are your thoughts there?
If that's a goal of yours, then as we know, the more specific you can make it, 6 a.m. But I asked you how many times to the gym. If it's the specificity around that goal of waking up that would help you. So it may not be 6 a.m. every day, but then thinking through what is the benefit to you of getting up at 6 a.m. Getting up at 6 a.m. is that's a bit of a drudge, but what's the benefit to you? You mentioned one of them, people get things done. Well, what is that you would love to use that time for? Then there's the other thing of what does it mean in terms of getting to bed at night? Does that change when you go to bed? And if so, is there something keeping you from going to bed at an earlier hour? What is that? How hard is that to get over in a hurdle? How big a hurdle is it, rather? Some people like watching TV at night, relaxing, and you got a favorite show, and that doesn't necessarily relax you. So it's the specificity around which and thinking through the whole process. It's just not getting up, Steve. It's also, what does it mean about getting to bed? And that part actually can be almost harder than getting up at 6 a.m.
I hear it. Yeah, some people can't fall asleep. And I know that if I train myself at a certain bedtime, I'll stick to it. And everything's a habit. So it might take a week to get into the routine. A lot of times late at night, I'm talking to people on the phone. And it's like, I'm giving of myself. Last night I have a friend, he had a problem with his TV setup, and I'm familiar with it. So I'm on the phone walking him through the updates and everything. And it's like,
You're giving of yourself, and that gives you some gratification as well, and a pleasant feeling, and you're helping somebody. How much is that taking away from maybe a different and more important goal of getting up early?
Yeah.
So,
or no matter what happens, call it 10:15. That's it.
Lights
Shut
out.
down. Lights out. There's no
Lights out.
shut the phone off. And even tell everybody, hey, don't call me after 10:15 unless it's emergency. I know,
Emergency.
care
Yes.
about you and everything. Was it pleasurable to work on a coaching level while you were away? Did it work well?
It worked well. It wasn't something where I felt, oh, good, I've got a coaching call coming up. Let's get ready. But because there's the issue of the timing. Once you set the date and the time, okay, that's good. That's almost the biggest thing. And then finding a quiet place. You got to make sure it's quiet and confidential. But then in the coaching call, having established all those gotten over those mechanics in a sense, yeah, I really enjoyed speaking to my clients and helping them out and talking about what their issues were. And I kind of forgot about where I was. It was just having a good conversation with somebody. So it wasn't like I was trying to set up a bunch of calls while I was over there, but the ones that happened, it was fine. I get over the scheduling.
It seems like it's more about logistics. That was a bigger challenge.
It was definitely about logistics.
Wow.
But one room we had a room in Penang, Malaysia, north of Malaysia. And the room was so big. And then it had two rooms. So there was the bed with a monster bed. And then there was this whole separate room with a door. I said, this is perfect. I got a call coming up at an hour. I'm just at a desk. So different situations. In Bangkok, I had a whole living room to myself. And Greece, I had a whole big alcove of a hotel room to myself. In a beautiful view of the inn, so not a big hardship.
We're out of time. Final question.
Okay.
Got to ask. Fascinated by the trip because there's lessons all in that as well. Would there be anything that you would have done different with that 3+ months of a mini sabbatical?
No.
Wow.
Nothing. It was well planned out. I got to see both of my daughters in Greece, my son in Switzerland, friends in Southeast Asia. The pace was good. I met some new people.
Wow.
There were no accidents. So
Wonderful.
no missed planes.
So it seems like the lesson here is it was all in the advanced planning. Everything was there a lot of detail, right down to you knew where you were going, when you were going, tours all set up well in advance.
Yes. Trains we were catching, of course, the planes.
Yep.
Yeah. And I give all the credit to my husband. He did all the legwork on that.
Wow. You know what? It makes a lot of sense because, if you wing it, and there's something to be said about the spontaneity of that, but at the same time, it's another thing you got to worry about. What do you want to worry about? You're on vacation. It's just like, I want to be an autopilot and enjoy my time there.
Exactly. Yeah,
wow.
There's time, I agree with you, for just winging it and not having things planned. And we had certainly some of that, but not having to worry about, well, what are we going to do now? It's like, you're far, far away. You're in a totally different culture. So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there you are in a totally different culture. And it's like, we have 3 days ahead of us. And what tour do you want to do? I'm not really sure, bouncing back and forth. And then now you got to make contact with them now, whatever it may be. Logistically, it seems like it's more work when you're there. Just
right. Exactly.
Wonderful. Anyway. I got to go back to your LinkedIn and start looking at what I missed.
Okay.
Excellent.
All right,
if somebody wants to reach out to you on a coaching level, your website is your name, right, Margaret?
Correct. It's margaretenloe.com. And then people can also find me on LinkedIn. Margaret, there are two Margaret Enloes, but anyway, looking at the photograph, I look like this. So Margaret Enloe on LinkedIn. And those are the two best ways.
Gotcha. And that's Enloe, correct?
Yes.
Beautiful.
Correct.
Thank you for today. Thanks for the insight. Thanks for sharing everything.
Happy to do it.
What amazing journey. Like, seriously.
It was great.
I feel like I lived through LinkedIn with you and seeing it.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Paying attention to it.
We'll catch up next time.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Bye, Steve.
We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.